With only the exceptions of the United States, every single state that has reached a prominent hierarchical position in the international system since the dawn of history has originated in the Eurasian landmass. In this regard, from a long-range perspective, the creation of Brazil as a national state is fairly recent. Hence, in the global geopolitical chessboard, Brazil is latecomer. However, the idea that Brazil could become a great power at some point is not new. Brazilian statesmen, diplomats and generals have contemplated such aspirations since the 19th century, and even sharp realist thinkers such as Henry Kissinger and George Kennan forecasted decades ago that given its lateral potential, the South American Goliath would eventually awaken. Indeed, the efforts undertaken by Brazil to reassert itself as a force to be reckoned with on a global scale is one of the most consensual ongoing geopolitical phenomena in the American hemisphere. It is worth noting that Brazil is a unique national state in more than one way. It was originally a Portuguese colony in an era in which most of the continent was under the control of the Spanish crown. In other words, as a process, the conformation of what is nowadays Brazil is a direct product of the so-called Age of Discovery, a period in which seafaring European empires reshaped the world. Moreover, in contrast to countries that become republics when independence was declared, Brazil became independent as a monarchic polity, and unlike many other Latin American states, it was not engulfed in permanent political turmoil since the 19th century. Furthermore, Brazil is also exceptional because, thanks to systematic implementation of import substitution policies, it managed to upgrade the profile of its economic structure through the development of several economic sectors related to industrial manufacturing. Thus, although it was initially a producer of agricultural goods, sugar, coffee, cotton, and cacao, Brazil no longer operates primarily as a mere exporter of commodities, a qualitative transition that only few Latin American states have successfully accomplished. In addition, in a continental region in which Spanish is the most common language, Brazil is the world's largest Portuguese-speaking nation. Last but not least, Brazil is likely the most ethnically heterogeneous Latin American country. Brazil's quest to assume a leader role as an assertive state is no quixotic crusade out of touch with reality. Far from being a backwater, the country has what it takes to pursue such ambitions. The full extent of its national power provides the critical mass that would be needed. In fact, Brazilian statecraft can rely on several resources and capabilities worth harnessing for strategic purpose. Concerning its geopolitical situation, Brazil is located in the so-called Outer Crescent, far from the Eurasian heartland and the rimlands contains flashpoints. Brazil's territorial extensions is the largest in South America, and the country has the chance to engage with the wider world through its direct access to the Atlantic. Plus, due to its colossal size, Brazil borders 11 weaker states, most of which used to belong to Spain. Hence, the country's political and economic nerve centers are located in close proximity to its much more habitable coastline. This conditions is double-edged sword. It represents the opportunity to participate in international trade and to develop substantial naval capabilities. On the other hand, such geopolitical configuration comes with vulnerabilities since it generates exposure to potential naval threats. Yet, here it seems as though Brazil does not have much to worry about. Moreover, the area covered by the Amazonian rainforest acts as a natural buffer zone that shields Brazil from direct contact with actual or potential sources of chaos, including Venezuela, the Colombian highlands, and several disputed borders. Likewise, Brazil is relatively unaffected by instability in neighbor states such as Argentina, Chile, and Bolivia. Regarding military strength, Brazil has the second largest armed forces and air forces in the American hemisphere after the United States, and the South American country has developed its own military-industrial complex which manufactures sophisticated hardware, platforms and weaponry. The Brazilian Navy lacks expeditionary warfare capabilities, but it does not need them. South America is a region in which the prospect of interstate war is rare, and even extra-regional great powers are unlikely to invade Brazil in the near future. The chief tasks of the Brazilian military are protection of the country's vast territory, which includes territorial waters often known as a Blue Amazon, so that the states can ensure full control and effective governance, guarantee a regional balance of geopolitical power which favors the pursuit of Brazilian national interests. Defend Brazilian national resources and suppress unconventional threats related to malicious non-state actors such as organized crime groups and transnational terrorist networks. Finally, the Brazilian military, as an instrument of hard power, also supports the credibility of the Brazilian state's foreign policy. It also must be borne in mind that during the 70s Brazil launched a nuclear weapons program, and also the country ultimately decided to abandon the venture due to its commitment to non-proliferation. It still retains the technological resources and the specialized expertise that would be needed to produce nuclear weapons in the future. The economic sphere, Brazil has the world's 12th largest GDP according to IMF, which places it ahead of South Korea, Australia, Mexico, Spain and Turkey. Brazilian industries are involved in sectors such as textile, steel making, aerospace, chemical and car making. Harvard University Atlas of Economic Complexity classifies Brazil as being more economically complex than South Africa, Argentina, Kazakhstan and Australia. In addition, unlike other Latin American states, Brazil has nurtured the growth of domestic financial and banking entities. Interestingly, China is followed by the US, Brazilian top trade partner in both exports and imports. Likewise, the South American state has abundant reservoirs of strategic minerals and gemstones. Furthermore, when it comes to energy, Brazil is self-sufficient in oil and is one of the planet's leading producers of hydropower. Likewise, its arable land is useful for the production of cash crops and biofuels, as the country has comparative advantages as a producer of beef, chicken, dairy and pork. Finally, Amazonia is a formidable source of fresh water, timber and biodiversity. Moreover, Brazil's demographic size represents an abundant supply of manpower. In fact, Brazil is the world's 7th most populated country and the second in the American hemisphere. Concerning the quality of diplomacy, the Brazilian state has developed highly professional foreign policy cadres. Likewise, Brazil is most prominent Latin American nation in the academic study of geopolitics. Besides these assets offer a sense of situational awareness for policymakers. They are instrumental for the practice of statecraft, the encouragement of informed deliberation to define Brazil's place in the world in a foreseeable future, the formulation of grand strategy. Accordingly, Brazil possesses the intellectual software to mastermind far-reaching geopolitical plans through the holistic management of all the components of its national power. Therefore, a comprehensive understanding of these realities explains why Brazil is seen as a potential great power. In fact, Brazil's weight in international high politics is by far heavier than that of Portugal, its former colonial overlord. Now, as a result of this reversal, Lisbon is eager to play a meaningful role in the rise of Brasilia. Brasilia is an interesting case study which shows that even so the behavior of geopolitical dynamics is driven by impressional forces, the role of human agency is not insubstantial. Therefore, Brasilia's quest has been favored both by fortune, but it has also been furthered through virtue. It is still unknown if the South American heavyweight will successfully reach the greatness it seeks. After all, it has to deal with problematic phenomena like the systematic and local fallout of rising geopolitical confrontation, internal political discord as a result of growing polarization, overall volatility in neighbor South American states, the proliferation of organized crime and corruption. Such threats could unleash troublesome levels of instability and challenging dilemmas for Brazilian statecraft. In the 21st century, Brazil wants to be one of the leading players in the so-called Greek game, but the path that leads to the big leagues is hazardous and mistakes can be deadly under Hobbesian conditions. Then again, as Machiavelli observed hundreds of years ago, nothing of importance can be conquered without exposure to risk. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe to the channel.